Percent Podcast.
Okay, we're live. This is Matthew, and I'm back with my dude Rizzle for another special interview on the Matthew and Rizzle Show. Today, our guest is super shiny. He's basically nicknamed Mr. Midas of the metaverse. Not really, that's a terrible joke. I'm really excited to have Jesse Johnson, creator and founder of the 3D digital collectibles backed by real gold based project, Booleanix. So welcome to the show, Jesse.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. And I got to say up front, I like that. I'm a fan of Midas. But no, I don't know if that one will stick. But my handle on Twitter is Golden Cross. So that's, kind of in the ballpark.
This is total aside. I was always curious about that handle. Did that come before Booleanix or after?
No, so that was really around the same time I was working on Booleanix. I finally got into the Twitter game and crypto Twitter, and so I had that on my mind. Yeah, definitely kind of at the same time. And also as a trader, I like the double entendre because it's like, everybody likes the Golden Cross, so it's a good time for crypto trading in general.
There we go. Well, I didn't mean to detract from you introducing yourself. But before we get into Twitter and crypto and Booleanix, introduce yourself, tell folks who you are, what you've been doing, and then tell them all about Booleanix.
Sure. So pretty much, all live and breathe crypto like everybody that probably listens to this program and like you guys, and been doing that for years now. My story and background is a little unique in that I'm from the US, but I've spent the last 10 years in Asia, mostly in Singapore or mainland China. And so that was a really unique place to be as a foreigner living overseas and seeing the crypto trend kind of pick up there in 2016, 2017, but from that side of the world. And so that helped with, at like around 2014, I was going for my law degree in China and got really, down the rabbit hole and ended up doing my graduate thesis on global regulations for Bitcoin and just spending all my time on it from more of an academic perspective. I really didn't have I wasn't day trading or anything like that. And I think at that time, the market was actually pretty low. So I was just like academically and interested and curious. And, but that led to other things like there's a nice expat community in Xiamen, China, where I was living. And so that kind of became a social opportunity where, you start connecting over these ideas of cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So that's kind of where it started. And that led to chances to work. I worked for a couple different projects that were American and coming over to do road shows through Asia. I would help organize their road shows and events and kind of do some BD and stuff like that for them. And that was another, interesting way to see a different side of the industry and as the space was growing and build the network. And then around that time, my soon-to-be wife moved to Singapore, so I followed her here and took a job with a crypto exchange named ZB, which not a really famous exchange outside of China, relatively speaking, but maybe you guys know it. But in China, it's one of the oldest and most established. So it's been around for, I think, since 2013. And it's actually kind of a conglomerate that has 6 or 7 different trading platforms under its group. So that was like a different part of the crypto space that I got to kind of be on the opposite side of it. Before I was trying to get projects listed, and here I was on the other side looking for good projects to list and that kind of thing. And somewhere along that way, I started getting really interested in non-fungible tokens as more of a personal side, because I basically come at everything as a work to learn type of attitude. So always happy to do all these things. And then I met Zach Burks, who was building Mintable at the time, and found that fascinating, a no-code solution where anybody could mint NFTs, and basically dedicated all my free time to helping with that project. And they actually, I'm less involved now. I'm so busy with Booleanix, but Zach and Mintable just launched their Zilliqa NFTs this last week, so that was pretty cool. a little aside there, and glad to see that developing. So got involved on that side, started working with NFTs. And then on the other side, I was really interested in DAOs, right? DAOs are always fascinating. And I was around when the first DAO crashed and burned, but kind of always knew that was going to be something that just unlocks all sorts of possibilities and something you can really get excited about. So one of the first projects I invested in was the Digix DAO, which was really, I think, the first ICO on Ethereum. And so I kind of got involved with that DAO. As soon as their dashboard went live, I was voting and making proposals. And that's how BullionX came to be, because BullionX was actually born out of that DAO. So it was a project proposal where I realized I can take what I've learned and what I'm doing with Mintable and apply it to a special use case where we, instead of just having an NFT, we could wrap ERC20 tokens inside of those NFTs to create value staked non-fungible tokens. And maybe I was like, maybe for other people, why hasn't this really been done much? I guess Engine had done something like that. But other than that, there was really nothing out there. And I thought, well, maybe because stable coins are kind of boring, but my whole intention was to take the Digix gold tokens and make them more reminiscent of real world collectible coins. So that seemed like a match made in heaven. And, once you get on an idea and you start like thinking about it and really whittling away at it, you can really arrive at a place where it's like a fully fleshed out product and it makes sense to build. So Digix DAO helped fund the smart contracts. And then after that, it was up to me to kind of get through stage 2 and actually get the product in the front end and the back end and all that good stuff put together. And so we put together a good team, and Coder Dan has been the main builder of the project, and he's been awesome. And we've been live since March 30 of this year. So the reception's been really good, and people seem to really enjoy, like, usually most people like don't quite get the project at first. They're like, okay, it's NFTs, but it's gold coins. They're 3D. What's going on here? And then once you realize, you're staking your gold stable coins, and at some point you can melt them to get the gold back. That's like a full circle process. And it's fun to see it click for people. And one of my ultimate things with this was I think it can be a great onboarding tool. Before the COVID lockdown, I always thought, well, this is something when you're at the roadshow when you're at a convention or a house party, and that Bitcoin conversation is inevitably going to come up, and they say, well, what's Bitcoin backed by? Then you would be able to, have a mobile friendly DApp where you pull out your phone, you say, see this 3D coin here, let's zoom in, let's examine it. And, by the way, it actually has like 1 DGX stake to it, which is, 1 DGX is 1 gram of gold. So I think it's a great tool, at least in that way. And it's actually turned out to be much more than that.
Dude, I've got to say, it's a complicated project, I feel like, for an outsider to wrap their heads around, like you were saying, but your YouTube video, like your intro YouTube video, actually does a very succinct job of explaining it at like a pretty like base level knowledge for people who are interested in the space. And I'm someone who comes from the day trading background in crypto and everything, which is one of the reasons why this project is very interesting to me, because I also think stable coins are inherently like extremely boring. And as a byproduct of that, like I never really got very interested in the DeFi space, but I feel like this is a very unique like mesh of the NFT space, sort of like the day trading space, as well as like wrapping in some DeFi. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I just totally agree with you. I think it's about being a bit of a hybrid. So you get exposure to speculative NFTs that if you're in the NFTs already, you're familiar with, like, building a collection, and maybe they grow in value over time, or a certain artist gets a lot of notoriety and now you have their collection. You still get all that with BullionX, but then you also have this like foundational balance of, well, I know exactly how much this is worth, at least in terms of grams of gold at any given moment. I think that's a nice balance. Sorry, guys, I'm opening a drink. I understand you guys changed the name of the show. I didn't get the memo till too late.
Drinking is still encouraged.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of am living up to the original name here. I've got a little Absolute and soda pop next to me.
Oh,
Good.
nice.
The tradition should carry on.
Yeah. My question was to explain Digix, I think, before we go further into Booleanix, because it's almost like you have two projects wrapped in one, like literally. And like, obviously one Digix or DGX is equivalent to 1 gram of gold, but I'm wondering if you can kind of like give us a little deeper insight into Digix, the project, and the Digix style that you had mentioned.
Yeah. So that's true. It's kind of like a prerequisite course to Booleanix, which is a blessing and a curse. So Digix is probably, they're one of the OG projects. Like I said, probably the first ICO, which means that all the ether that they raised was at less than $5 or something crazy. So when people ask me, well, how safe is that gold? At least from just an obvious like funding perspective, they're not going to go bankrupt tomorrow. Like they're extremely well funded, and because they had a massive ICO, and but they also beyond that they've gone and really lived up to their claims to transparency. So they have this system called proof of provenance, where every time a DGX token is minted, there's like hashed, transparent, and photocopied copies of everything that goes into their vault. So when real physical gold goes into their Singapore vault, they're based here in Singapore as well, then whatever that weight in gold is allows for the minting of more DGX. And every DGX is, 1 gram of gold. And the easiest way to get it is across DEXs. So Uniswap, KyberSwap are the two most common. You can also buy direct from their website, digix.global, which is the easiest way to learn about them and really see the whole thing. But the cool thing about them was it was a stablecoin project. It was the first asset-backed coin other than like USDT at the time. They were basically on their way to being the second real stablecoin to the Ethereum platform. And I think it was, they got a little late to the party. And so there was that, Cambrian explosion of stablecoins a couple years back. And so anyway, they're in that mix, but they've actually been around since almost day one. And that's what gives me confidence compared to maybe some of the other gold projects that do exist. They're just the oldest and the most well-funded. And and they've been a pleasure to work with. Most of the other gold tokens, like there's Paxful, even Tether Gold. I think in both of those cases, their utility token, their ERC20, is pegged to 1 ounce of gold, which would make a very different experience on Booleanix, because we want something that people can really, play with and have fun with. And if you're dealing with grams, it's a little more reasonable. I think a gram today is going for about $63, $64. So that gives some perspective.
Is there like something in the roadmap? Like, would you consider applying this concept like beyond DGX and wrapping like other even more like, because again, man, coming from the crypto day trading background, I'm like fairly comfortable with wild swings. And while in some ways I like the stability of DGX and the confidence that you have in it, I would also be like potentially interested in rolling the dice on a couple coins that have, if I'm doubling down on your project and DGX, I would also be interested in potentially hedging my bets with some like more speculative currencies rolled into your project. Obviously there's a lot of different angles you could take with this like really cool concept that you've come up with. Is the idea to sort of stay in this lane, or are you going to consider diversifying into like, a silver one and a bronze one or something along those lines eventually?
Yeah, so definitely the short answer is yes, we definitely want to expand. It might be sort of a second brand, because the word bullion, right? It's just like it's made for precious metals. But one thing we're kind of looking at is you can have Booleanix for the precious metals, maybe a silver token if we find the right partner. And then something more like along the lines of just intrinsics in general, intrinsic value NFTs. So you could do that with just about anything.
Cool.
And then it's just a matter of making collectibles that make sense. So we could have some very volatile collectibles where it's not so much about having a stable foundation plus the speculative art. So we may do that. We've been so busy though that it's really all Booleanix at this point. And one thing that happened this last month that's really exciting is we came together and worked out a deal where we're looking to go on to the Matic layer 2. And so Matic would help solve a lot of these gas fees for us. There are some drawbacks on the UX side, so it's all a matter of give and take with that. But I think in the near to mid future, like probably before the end of this year, we would like to see something happen with that. And one of the parts of that discussion is, well, what other coins are already bridged from Ethereum over to the Matic sidechain? And maybe we can start working with some of those coins at the same time. And that would make, like, timing wise, that would just feel like the right time to experiment with some more coins. Yeah. So beyond that, I guess what we're talking about, July has been absolutely crazy, guys. I'll give you a quick rundown here of, like, we had the Matic deal set and moving on that direction. And then also, I think something you guys are very familiar with is Arweave, right? And this idea of permanence for your metadata. And so we saw what was going on in the space, and that's just the direction everywhere is heading. And we have really heavy 3D files for these beautiful high definition coins. And it's like, if that was to ever disappear or something, that would just be a total, like, you would still have your gold, I guess, but that whole speculative half would be gone. So, so we've made the steps necessary, and we're probably 10 days away from having that fully integrated, and we're super excited about that. Wow. So we got the Arweave, we'll treat it as kind of a redundancy, because there are some issues where the gold coins will load slower if we pull direct from there, at least the way it is right now, because you can't cache them. So right now, all our stuff is backed up on, the usual AWS first class, but it totally makes sense to have that as our, like, first go-to. And then at the same time, everything is mirrored and backed up on Arweave. So I think that's the way we're going to go with it. And so that's been exciting to get that ball rolling. And it's just been crazy. Yeah.
That seems like the direction that everybody's going. Yeah. Throwing everything on chain. So you sort of tapped into, like, a lot of people who are interested in a lot of different, like, aspects of this space. Like, who have you seen the biggest, like, what community, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask. Have you seen the biggest response from, or has it been, like, sort of a mix of a little bit of all the crowds? I mean, I feel like this is a great meeting point for everybody to, sort of have some common interest in a project.
That's so true. We've had really, like, such a mix of responses. Like, early on, we were, just very active in Crypto Voxels because we love it. We've got our parcel, our official headquarters is there in the at 4 Jumbo Way. Come on by anytime. And but as far as response, like, so for example, at Axie Infinity, they saw what we were doing with gold, and Jiho, he's been in the Digix DAO as well. I think he was pretty active as well. And so we got to talking, and this month we were able to launch a really cool I don't even want to call it promotion. It was like more than that. It was a 3-way thing where Digix put gold inside the Axie game, or allocated gold to it, and then they created, like, you're actually mining for gold inside of Axie Infinity this month for their golden season. And then at the same time, you could come over to BullionX and mint these limited edition commemorative Axie Infinity coins. And so that was a huge hit, and we got a great response in conversion from Axie Infinity users. So once they, like, it's all about awareness, right? Once they, like, came over and they're like, okay, I see my favorite Axie on this coin, but what's going on here? And then it was just a matter of, making them see that, that gold is yours. And they were more than excited to mint their coins. So, and the cool part is a lot of them have stuck around in our Discord and now are very, very active. Same with Decentraland. We sponsored the Moonshot trophies for the Moonshot 2020 competition last month. And a lot of people in Decentraland, I think that was the first time they had a chance to really see and get up close with BullionX. And so, it's really cool. The support comes from everywhere. And there's even a couple guys that just are gold more than crypto. And I know those people are out there. I think they're usually over on the Bitcoin side. But when you look at the top of our own leaderboard, we've got a leaderboard, and, like, there's a couple guys at the top that are like, I want gold because gold is going to moon. And actually this week, for the first time ever, gold broke $2,000 just yesterday. First time ever. So I feel like we're, Ethereum's mooning, DeFi's mooning, and even gold is mooning. So it's, but people from all those different sections are curious and interested in BullionX. And that's very good. Like that makes me happy to see it appeals to different crowds.
Yeah, I feel like Booleanix definitely sits at a really interesting intersection. You can attract like the digital gold bugs from the Bitcoin side, anyone in the NFT/collectible space. Once they kind of like wrap their head around what actually like what these tokens are backed by, it's like, whoa, it's almost like a mind blowing moment. And then the partnerships, I feel like that's the perfect vehicle to really promote what is possible with Booleanix with these 3D tokens. Because I had heard about Booleanix for a while, and it wasn't until I saw like a name that I recognized, maybe like a Tom Badley working with Booleanix. And then like obviously the Axie partnership was like, wow, that's brilliant. And like you mentioned, the Moonshot trophy backed by actual gold. And I feel like the partnerships are perfect. So I'm curious, what is your partnership roadmap like? What projects are you approaching to kind of work together to collaborate and create these really interesting commemorative tokens or objects? And yeah, like how can people work with you more to spread awareness of your awesome project?
Yeah. Anybody that wants to work with us, the door is always open. Just drop in the Discord. And we ended up, because of this Arweave deal, some of the guys on the Arweave side like were becoming aware of Booleanix, and they came in the Discord and were like, hey, I saw you have an integrations collection dedicated to like different partnerships and tools you're using to make Booleanix better. Who's doing the Arweave one? And I was gonna say, well, actually, I'm designing most of those myself. But if you have a portfolio, if you are an artist, if you're skilled, like we can talk. So turns out this guy goes by the name Intel. He's got some serious skill, and I'm really excited about what he's going to make for an Arweave integrations coin. It's just one example. As far as a roadmap, you totally hit it. Like outside of coins, the other part that makes total sense is doing more rewards, trophies, badges, anything competitive esports. That's kind of the direction that I'd love to see Booleanix like really fulfill a need there, where it just kind of makes sense that there should be real gold backing some of these more valuable and larger tournaments. So Moonshot was a great way to display that. And Bence Varga from a really active game maker in Decentraland, that was his second game I'm aware of inside Decentraland. And the first one he did was like a cowboy going down in the mines, and it's called Infinity Engine. And there's like a train engine. You go out to this like abandoned mine, and you have to mine for gold and then come back out and escape before the like bandits get you. I thought that was really cool. When I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a first person shooter inside Decentraland, and it has gold. And that was just like the conversation starter. He's like, well, I kind of already built the game, but we could at least do the trophies. And I was like, yeah, let's start there. So anything like that. Decentraland is a big place. We'd love to move into, it's only a matter of time to move into wearables. That's the third one. It's like gold coins, gold trophies, and then jewelry. So translates as wearables, any kinds of gold wearables. I think that would be a huge hit, and it's just a matter of making sure that we can actually produce those wearables in these metaverses.
Seriously, when Booleanix watch wearable? Yeah. I need to write that.
I know.
I got a fake gold watch in CV, and it's just like, it's not doing it for me. I definitely need that Booleanix, John.
Right. You can have like gold watches or necklaces that are heavier than what you could ever wear in real life. In theory.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.
I like that play, man. That's a great marketing angle. Like you wouldn't even be able to pick this up in real life or something like that. So dude, all right. You're tapping into the FOMO. I like everything that you've been saying about the project and everything. If I'm like listening to this and I'm like, all right, this is awesome. I want to dip my toe into the water of Booleanix. What's like the price point, like generally to like get me in the game if I just want to sort of like, check it out and see what it's all about and tinker around a little bit? Is it, yeah. What's it cost to like just sort of start poking around?
Yeah. Great question. Right now, the best thing to do would be at Booleanix.io. We still have about 15 of these Axie Infinity golden Stellas that remain. And Stella is one of the Axies. And yeah, there's like 15 of those left. And we did something unique on the Axie partnership where we really wanted to go for volume and let people really, like you say, make it super accessible. So we drove the minting fee to its absolute maximum. You can't go to zero. So we just went to 0.1, like as low as possible. We're trying to give them away. And so you're literally staking 0.25 DGX. And remember, that stake is still yours. And it's just been transformed into a golden Stella now. And then the fee is like 0.1, is as low as we could possibly go. And so that's a great starter coin. It's like, it's a great brand. There's, there's that unique story behind it. And it's the first time they've messed with gold. So it has collectability value. And it's also like I say, you're really not spending anything. You just have to, time it so the gas fees are reasonable, because you'll spend more on gas than you will on fees from us. So that's a great one right now. Once those are gone, what we've been doing is, it's been a huge hit. It's called the Little Gold Rocks. You might see them around on Twitter. These Little Gold Rocks, we've done 2 batches so far. And basically what those are initially it was just going to be our starter coin. It was like, it's not a coin, but if you just want to get your toes wet, you want to check it out, then you can mint one of these. And it's also just 1/4 of a gram of gold. So 0.25 is your stake, your intrinsic value. And I think it was the equivalent of value in the minting fee. So for half a DGX, you're in the game, and you can try minting and owning this BullionX. So it's a great first BullionX as well. Right now, those are all sold out, but we're going to have a 3rd batch coming really soon. And the reason those are also really exciting is because what we ended up doing is saying, okay, if you're one of our earliest adopters and you went out and you got one of these, we want to do something cool with you, because this is really like, we're not a full-fledged DAO in any sense, but we are community first. So if you hold one of those, if you've minted with us, we want you to be able to design and mint your own coin. And so the first time around, we said there's 25 of these mints. They're not as rare. Most of our coins are 1 of 1, 5 of 5, or maybe additions of 10. But this one's 25. And so we said, if you have one, just send it back to us to this special littlegoldrock.eth address and fill out our type form and send us your design. And we're going to make that gold coin for you as a 1 of 1. And that was a huge hit. People, you can check it out on our site. It's called the Pioneers Collection. And so that's all our pioneers. We had 17 users come in and create their own gold coins. And they get to keep their exact same stake. So it's still the same weight as their rock. They didn't lose anything. It was just strictly kind of something we really wanted to do. And then the second batch came out. We did it again, but we made it a little more flexible. So this last month and a half or so, people have been able to contribute their second batch rock, and then they have a choice on the type form. Do they want it to be a 1 of 1 like last time, or do they want it to be 5 of 5, or we have a kind of middle way, a Gemini, 2 of 2. So you get 1 for yourself, because we always mint the first one and send it back to you for free. And then if you want to have just 1 more, maybe as a gift for somebody, or whatever you want to do, then you can do the 2 of 2. So that just concluded. We actually just finished our prospectors collection, which is the second batch. And again, I think there were 12 in that batch, and we had some awesome designs. Like this time they knew what was coming, and you can see the designs are getting pretty intricate. Easy and Crypto was there, and a couple other guys that really went all out on it. In fact, Easy and Crypto, he did the only Gemini in the series. Most people want to do 5 of 5s, but he did a 2 of 2. So anyways, that's just completed. And so it's just about time to put out a 3rd Little Gold Rock. And like I say, that's a great way to really get the whole BullionX experience and participate directly.
Yeah, it's funny, man. More than ever, I feel like there's many projects springing up that aren't trying to just like create something to make like regular stuff around us change. They're just literally taking regular stuff around us and pulling it into our environment. And the connection of like the physical and the digital backing is, I feel like, just exploding right now. So there's got to be room for stuff like this. And just like you said, like a gold watch that you couldn't even lift up in real life. I mean, that just sounds like so cool, not to mention like the incredibly like functional aspects behind it. So I don't know. That's why I was asking about like attaching this to different metals, attaching this to different coins. I feel like this has so many, like this concept has so many cool applications, even beyond what you guys are doing right now. What do you poke around with on the side, man? Like what projects are you like inspired by or like interested in, like outside of your own?
Yeah. I guess I would say anything Ethereum based, I'm going to check it out. So I spend like for example, last week, now it's just second nature. I love how easy it is to jump into CryptoVoxels, and I don't make it to the whip enough, but then there's these things where it's like, I was babysitting two kids, like my wife's friends were over and I got stuck with the kids, of course. So I'm sitting there like, what do I do? And they're kind of wild. And I was like, wait a minute, here, go to CryptoVoxels and walk around for a while. I let them run around CryptoVoxels and they're having a blast. So CryptoVoxels, what else? I'll tell you what's on my wish list as, and maybe I've seen you tweet about it, Rizzle, is the NBA Top Shots. I'm a big NBA fan, and I love that concept of you're not just collecting a player, but a very distinct moment in his career. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the FOMO is real with that one as well. Yeah. They just had their public launch, and I don't think they can keep their packs like online for too long before they sell through. But yeah, man, that's another one. They're just bringing the mainstream to us instead of like hoping they eventually come on board, and so much stuff like that going on.
Mm-hmm. Another one would be like Niftex, because they seem to be focused on bringing in more liquidity to NFTs, and I feel like that one could have a very significant effect on the whole NFT space here. And if it keeps going the way it's going, there's a lot of potential there to really change the game.
We're always just interested in what people are collecting when they're not working on their main projects, or what you're hanging on to. I know you had mentioned CryptoVoxels. Is there anything else like cool you got in your stash if you open up your Ethereum wallet?
I've got some good crypto art that, a lot of it I read Mag NFT and Stefan, he always has some good recommendations and insights there. Beyond that, then I would say Cryptograph has been really interesting. That's the one where I don't know if you've had them on yet, but they actually like sign, like they got Vitalik and a lot of these major influencers and important developers coming in and like drawing something on an iPad and instantly tokenizing that. And so as like a cryptograph, and then they have a really cool auction style for that. So I actually haven't won any yet, but I keep bidding. So they do them on a kind of weekly basis. And I know one's coming up, I think tomorrow. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah, we had Luke and George on under their Non-Fungibles label, but we talked about Cryptograph towards the end of that episode. So yeah, that is definitely an interesting project to watch. Well, Jesse, it was definitely awesome to finally have you on the show to deep dive into Linux and talk about everything that you have going on there. I'm really excited to see the integration with Matic. I feel like that will definitely help smooth out the UX and then hopefully resolve some of the gas issues. And not to mention, oh my God, I feel like as soon as you brought up the gold-backed wearables, that's probably what I'm going to be dreaming about tonight before we head into the whip. Like when gold-backed wearables. I feel like that's really exciting. So thank you so much for your time and sharing about your awesome projects, and keep on creating.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'll see you at the whip.
Yeah, man. It's great to have you. Take it easy, Jesse.
Cheers. All right. Bye, guys.
Son.